It is debate season, Amy. There are lots of debates going on, several last night, including one in Connecticut and one in California. Take a look at some of the greatest hits.
But I will say the campaign apologized promptly, and I affirm that apology tonight.
Jerry, it's not just me, it's the people of California who deserve better than slurs and personal attacks.
There have been 7 dead wrestlers since she started campaigning for this office.
Just typical that you need to continue to talk about WWE because clearly you don't want to talk about job creation.
Those are phrases I thought I'd never hear. Dead wrestlers being brought up.
Right. I feel like that sounds like an alternative band. Well, we as has now become a weekly ritual, Shane, D'April. D'April. But can I say D'April? Just to say,
absolutely.
Just because I like the sound of that. From the Hill, coming in and giving us a little rundown. You guys are doing some great stuff here. Polling last week was Democratic incumbents. This week, it's open seats. And a little bit of a different story. You want to tell us what you saw out of these races?
Yeah, there's a little bit more Democratic strength here, but again, Republicans do lead in 8 out of 10 of these districts. And it's noteworthy because this is some more Democratic territory. Right. President Obama won 7 out of 10 of these districts in 2008. And I think the headline number here for Democrats, they could breathe a little easier in Illinois 10, it looks like. Dan Seals in his third try for that seat, he's up by 12. I mean, that is a district that Democrats just have to win given its makeup.
The latest polls that you've done are looking at some of the open seats. And these are actually, there's some Democratic opportunities there. A lot of these are Democratic held seats, but we are seeing, including what the Hawaii race, for instance, is one that we've seen recently. This is going to be tough for Democrats even to hold their own territory.
Right, yeah, and the Hawaii race that you mentioned is really, they were interesting numbers there just because, I mean, this is a district where 64% of likely voters approve of President Obama. Actually, 43% approve of Congress, which is an astoundingly high number in terms of the districts we polled. Yet still, Congressman DeJoux is he's polling very well there. His favorables are above 60%. He's polling well with independents. He's taking 16% of Democrats.
Is there anything different about the way that some of these policy issues play in these open seats versus how you saw them play in some of the competitive incumbent races?
Yeah, well, we asked some different questions this time around in terms of you know, what were some of the most important issues in these districts. The one thing we did find is the fact that without that anchor of incumbency around their necks, Democrats are generally faring a little better here. So even though we saw some similar patterns in terms of disapproval of President Obama, disapproval of Congress, in a number of these districts, that did not seem to be dragging down Democrats as much as the freshman incumbents.
So was it more that they weren't an incumbent or that they didn't have a voting record? I mean, was it the fact that they voted for healthcare or cap and trade or those other things that were more of a problem, do you think?
Well, yeah, there's certainly less for Republicans to attack here in terms of voting records, but still, in some of these conservative-leaning districts, in Arkansas 1, in West Virginia, Tennessee 8, the Democratic candidates there are trying as hard as they possibly can to run away from the Democratic leadership in Washington, saying they won't vote for, in the case of Tennessee 8, Nancy Pelosi as Speaker. They're still down.
We're seeing more and more of those. And just very briefly here, are we seeing any evidence that the generic ballot movement is having an impact in some of these targeted races?
Well, our generic ballot had Republicans up, I believe, by 3 or 4. Among independents, that number was higher. It was at 11. So yeah, I mean, we're seeing some impact in some of those races, but our generic ballot has been pretty consistent over the past 2 weeks.
Right, and the national generic ballot almost irrelevant at this point. I'm glad you guys are looking kind of district by district. Shane D'April from the Hill. Did I get that right?
D'April.
Yeah, wasn't that hard?
Close.
Wasn't that hard? No one gets your last name wrong. That's it for today's program. Twitter.com/Rick Klein. Twitter.com/Amy E. Walter, and we're headed into debate prep. There's nothing better than these debates.
I love it.
It's every night.
Every night. It's Junkie's dream come true.
They're clickable, they're watchable, they're all over the place. This is the best. And it gets better with each cycle because you see more of them out there.